Hello, friends. My next guest is a perfect example of the kind of heroes that we envisioned highlighting on this show. By every appearance, he's an average, everyday working man. It's not until you hear his story that you begin to see what sets him and the folks that support him apart from the fray. He was born and raised in Magazine, Arkansas, and married his high school sweetheart, Sue, then moved to Booneville. In their over 40 years of marriage, they have raised 3 children and now have 3 grandchildren. He is currently a marketing manager for Crum Forester Insurance. He also manages the first United Methodist Church Blessing Box project, which gives food to the less fortunate. Please welcome Will Beason.
This child is looking for food at 9 o'clock at night alone. And I'm like, there's got to be something. There's got to be a way that we are, if not we, I can make an impact.
Welcome to the Local Insider Podcast, a show about everyday people who make a big difference.
The Local Insider Show is brought to you in part by My Patriot Supply. You don't need to live in the heart of a hurricane zone or along an active fault line to be serious about emergency preparedness. If we've learned anything from both historical and recent events, crises can come in all shapes and sizes, and they can come at any time, even overnight. Whether you're experiencing the effects of long-term illness, an accident, job loss, or even widespread threats like terrorist attacks, economic collapse, or an outbreak of disease, you can tackle what's next in confidence with My Patriot Supply storable foods. No matter what your emergency may look like, you won't have to worry about where you're getting your next meal. And as far as your survival is concerned, there's nothing more important than that. Already our foods and packaging undergo regular, rigorous testing to ensure they exceed industry standards for safety, quality, and shelf life. Ready Hour also conducts regular analytical microbial and oxygen level inspections, as well as sensory testing of raw materials and finished goods in a food testing lab. Don't delay, prepare today. When an emergency is on the way, My Patriot Supply receives a rush of orders that slows their ability to ship as quickly as usual from their warehouses across the country. Go to localinsidershow.com/emergency food to order your 2-week or 4-week supply of storable food.
Will Beason, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm so happy you came on. I've been wanting to get you on. I first heard about the project that you're a part of during a Rotary meeting. I believe it was Amy's program that week, and you come in to talk about the Blessing Box and you know what you do, and you told some stories, and it's some of the stories you tell were miraculous, you know, just to hear them, and they were a witness for what you do. And I wanted to have you on so you could talk about that and let people know how they can help. But first off, for the people that don't know you, what's your story? Where are you from here? Or
I grew up in Magazine.
Okay.
My parents were from there. My grandparents were from there. Moved to Booneville after my wife and I married over 40 years ago. So I'm a Booneville resident. I guess I could say that it's definitely home now. But I did grow up 7 miles down the road.
Sure.
My wife, Sue, like I said, we've been married now more than 40 years. We have 3 kids. Our son, Adam, and his wife live at Charleston, and our 2 grandsons. Our daughter, Kaylee, and her husband, Chris, and our baby, Ray, live in Fayetteville. And the baby daughter, Darby, is just recently married, and she and her husband, John Hunter, live at Mount George. I'm very, very proud of them and have a wonderful family. But
What is it that you do during your day job? I know the Blessing Box is a full-time job.
It's not my day job. It doesn't pay the bills. But no, I'm a marketing manager for a regional insurance company, Crum Forester, and very fortunate to be there. Great company. Speaking of the Blessing Box and charitable impacts that are made, I'm so thankful and so appreciative for the company I work for. We as a company, we have offices from coast to coast, border to border.
What was the name of that company again?
Crum Forester. And we are we're a very giving company. We support food pantries, halfway houses, rehabilitation centers. We actually, Boys and Girls Clubs, any kind of a nonprofit. We have our employees in any of the divisions can nominate a charity in their community. And that goes before it's vetted, goes before a board, and we give away over $200,000 a year in grants.
Wow!
And we've been doing that for many, many years. We were very fortunate. Last year, the Boys and Girls Club, South Logan County Boys and Girls Club, received one of the larger grants, but very worthwhile organization. Rick Scott does an amazing job there. That is an impact to so many kids, people. I don't know if he's ever been on your podcast, but there's a story in itself.
Right. And
it had the expansion to magazine and so on and so forth. But we were very happy to be able to help them. But anyway, I'm fortunate enough to be on the Charitable Impact Committee, which I'm now get to be a part of that vetting process with charities across the country. So twice a year we work on it quarterly, but we are able to come together and make our choices. So, but anyway, there's a little part of my job, but we do a multitude of products from private passenger auto company to petroleum to contractors to workman's comp to various things. Very large company, multi-billion-dollar company.
$200,000 in grants. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's very rewarding knowing that we do that as a company and have for a long time, way before I got here.
How did you find this company? Or
I went to work for them in 2014. The gentleman there, that's my closest friend and my boss too, he had been there a number of years, and we'd worked together in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And then the company we worked for went out of business. I went one way. My father and I went to work for another insurance entity, and he went to Conway, where the hub office that I work out of is there. And anyway, the company I was working for at the time, just there were some moves being made that, I just didn't really like the way it was going. It was one of those that we got bought out and nothing was going to change and everything changed.
Right.
And anyway, I was very fortunate to come on board there and work with some wonderful people.
Awesome. What is the Blessing Box Project? The
Blessing Box Project is something that, like you said, there's some stories that come from it, and I promise you I won't make you cry, and I'll try not to cry, but I can usually, we laugh about it. If I can get an audience, I can usually make everybody in the room cry with some of these stories.
I will say there was not a dry eye in the house at the Rotary that day.
That was the spark that started this. We've had to where everyone will know that's listening, that I'm talking about the United Methodist Church here in Booneville. We had a small food box outside of our church that had sit there, and the church people would put in items when it was convenient, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And they'll say this too. I mean, we just kind of halfway did it, to say the least, for a number, and my wife and I included, we talk about that we would do it when it was convenient, but 90% of the time there was nothing there. Mm-hmm. About 2 years ago, I was down at the church one night checking on some plants. Lady, Catherine Whitaker, is our very close friend, and I take care of some of the fresh flowers down around through there for her. So I'll give Catherine a lot of plug for this project. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been there.
She's a worker.
She's a worker. She does a good job. She's a great lady. Mm-hmm. But I was at the church, and I was going from one part of the campus to the other, and it's dark. A little boy rode by me on a bicycle, and bicycle was way too big for him. I remember that. And it was dark, and I'm thinking, because at the time he was probably the age of would fall between my two grandsons at that time. I'm going to say this child was 9 or 10. So he's in Booneville, 9 o'clock at night, alone on a bicycle. And he rides by me, and I jumped off the sidewalk just to play with him, and I said, "Were you going to hit me?" And he said, "No, sir." And he went past me, he turned around, came back, and he stopped, and he pointed to the empty food box. And he said, I was going to see if anything was in there. And I look over, and it's empty. And I said, honey, I'm so sorry. I said, I don't have a key to the church. I said, my wife does, but she's not here tonight. And I thought, you know what? That doesn't help him. Well, he said, it's okay. And we walked out toward my truck, and I said, you like McDonald's? And he nodded his head. And I said, I got a McDonald's dollar cheeseburger. And I said, you can have it if you want it. I said, you want it? Yes, sir. I said, I got a Diet Coke, but I'm not giving you that. And he giggled. And he said, and this, Brian, to me was the real story. He began to share things with me that a 9-year-old child should not even know about in their home. Yeah. We had to pay our electric bill. We don't have any food. We have a lot of people that come to our house. We don't have any food. So I gave him the burger, and I talked to him a minute, and I said, you got a watch? He said, no. I said, but you can tell time. He said, oh, yes. I said, 30 minutes from now, if it's okay, come back up here and check in there. Would you do that for me? He said, sure. And I said, I promise you there'll be something there. So I got my truck, probably made it 100 feet, laid my head on the steering wheel, and cried like a baby. I thought, this is Booneville, Arkansas. And this child is looking for food at 9 o'clock at night alone. And I'm like, there's got to be something. There's got to be a way that we are, if not we, I can make an impact. Called my wife and visited with her. I went to Walmart. I gathered some things and brought it back and put it in the box. And I came back in about 30 minutes and it was gone. Brian, the one thing that sticks in my mind, I told you this that day at Rotary, I've never seen that little boy again. And I don't know. We won't go down that rabbit hole, but I don't think anything happened to him. That's not the point. Right. He may have been staying with a grandparent. There could be multiple things. But went to my pastor, who was at the time was Mike Smith, that was here. Told him the story and made him cry. And I said, Mike, we got to do something. He said, I agree. We've not done a good job here. We've just done this at our convenience, and it's inadequate, to say the least. So I took it to my church family. I made all them cry, and we laugh about it now. But they literally stepped to the plate. We got organized. I took on the role to say, I will, if you will help me, I will do this. If I'm not on the road with my job, I can do it early and I can do it late. And when I am, we can do this. And Brian, the outpouring is hard to describe. I can't name you, and we don't have a large church. Post COVID, our church is a totally different. The face of our church is different. But even people that were worried about COVID would watch what we were talking about, and they would, and when I say that they stepped up, they either gave financially, which we keep money in an account that we buy groceries from, or they gave groceries. And we have a food room, and it's just, overrun with food from just donations. And I think it's important people know we don't do a food pantry where it's dry beans and rice, and we do food that you can eat right now. Right. And in the summer we keep water out, and in the fall we try to gauge the need, and then we try to gauge what people could use right then, because and we'll get into it, I'm sure, a little bit later. But we went from that story to then I began to have interactions with people. And I would come back to my church family, and I'd give them an update, and I'd tell them a story, and I'd make them cry, or I'd make them laugh. They all, when I would tell the story, they'd all say, "Oh my gosh, we're fixing. Here we go. Here's another. We call it the Jimmy Swaggart moment." but bless I'm not picking on him, but it's just like we're all crying over this. But some of it was happy tears because we saw that we were helping people. But Brian, it started out probably 25 people that I could name by first name. and I know every face.
Mm-hmm.
Then with 40. And I think this week, if you made me put a number, because the last 2 weeks, it's been a lot of families. And so these people are working. It's not like they're not working. I don't want anyone to think that this, but probably 80 people are coming. So since I saw you at Rotary, several months ago, but with the church, and then there have been people from other churches that have heard about, our food ministry, and, reaching out to the most insecure, in our community. People from other churches, if they see me, they'll hand me a $20 bill, or they'll say, "What do you really need? What would help you this week?"
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to come to Rotary, and I'll just say this, and from the bottom of my heart, what Rotary, which you're a part of, and it's a great young Rotary club. When I was there, I used to be in Rotary, and it was a totally different club.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are all young, and I'm thankful for that. Thankful for y'all. But what you're doing through Rotary, helping us, is probably 30%, 35% of our ministry. And if you want to touch real quick on what y'all are doing, I mean, you can. But.
Sure. We the last meeting that we have every month, we have a separate collection that we do that is specifically for the blessing box. And we gather that up. Every member gives a certain amount, and then we give that to Amy, and she takes it on to you.
Yep. Amy and I, we go to Walmart. We're known as the Methodist man and his pretty niece. And, we always try to, because we don't go through the self-check. We buy things by the case. And we roll up there, and the ladies at Walmart, they're always inquisitive. How's it going? This is just amazing, what we're doing. And I know that I look so forward to, of course, like I said, Amy's my niece, and she's my wife's twin. So, we have that special, she and I have a really good relationship. But, and I was talking about with Rotary and all the help, and I've been so thankful that there are times when Amy and I are putting in groceries that she'll go out and fill up the box, and she's had interaction with our neighbors that are coming by. And when you go purchase items, it's, for someone, you feel good about it. But when you really meet people and you learn their name and you have interaction, you sit down on the step out there with them at 10:30 at night. And I come away, and I tell people this a lot, I'm not sure if the food's more important or just to visit.
Mm-hmm.
The food's important, don't get me wrong. There's times I pull in and people are sitting waiting. That's a little shaky.
Mm-hmm.
It shakes me to my core to know that they were depending on me. That's a lot of pressure. What if I had been somewhere else, and I didn't get a backup for the night or whatever. And, like I said, my church family and then other volunteers, we have a good network of keeping food out. But Brian, I think we could put up, we've tried to do 4 times a day is pretty much the normal. And when I say put food out, that's
4 times every day.
Yeah, but that's the minimum we try to do. On Sundays, it's usually 7. Holidays, I know this past Memorial Day,
mm-hmm.
my wife was in Northwest Arkansas, so I was out and about. I had 11 people come through Memorial Day. 11 separate people in an hour and 15 or 20 minutes. Now, I didn't load them up with groceries. We got a bag of groceries. I knew most of them,
mm-hmm.
and a couple I did not, but they came with others. If people listening, if they ever want to get involved or wanted to help, or maybe, if they're thinking about doing it for their church or their organization, whatever. One reason that our food ministry is under, that's popular, and that's a sad thing, but that it is, or it's sometimes under stress from, so much usage, is the pandemic. You had churches that stopped
Mm-hmm.
They had food boxes. Some of the churches in the south part of town, some of the churches on, I won't name the churches, it's irrelevant. They did it for whatever reason, and I'm sure that, and some of them may bring it back. Some of the boxes were destroyed. There was things like that. They just didn't, or, that's their own, their own business. But I have people tell me this, not just people that go to church, these other churches, but people that come and get food. We at one time got food here. Now there is not a box. Or we at one time got food here, and they don't do that any longer. So they know, where. But when I talk about the items, we don't do dry goods. That's not what we do. We don't do fresh things because we have to put things out during the heat, and things like that. But canned pasta, canned soup, canned fruit, canned any vegetables, lots of tuna in pouches, a lot of peanut butter and crackers, granola bars, any kind of sweet, Little Debbie type things, or various things, whether they're just honey buns or those type items. We buy a lot of Walmart brand cookies, and we bust them down into 5 or 6 to them. And I have a couple that comes and does that every week. They break down, hundreds and hundreds of cookies in packs of 5. We do that with crackers, where it goes with the soup. Ramen noodles, water. We give out a tremendous amount of water. We get a lot of items from the Senior Citizen Center that they cannot use. That really comes in. That's a huge boost to us. We can get fresh things sometimes like that. We have a refrigerator where we can keep things cool. Sometimes we get half gallons of milk, and then we buy cereal, and we can do that. So if I have an interaction and people are in an automobile, we know them and there's children involved, we'll build a box of food. And we've had a lot of people that me included, bringing venison. A lot of people when they're killing their beeves, or they're bringing. We have meat.
Right.
And we'll get chicken periodically. So it's not a dry goods thing where you come by and get rice, because without coming across as being, not thankful for anything, so many of these people don't have stoves. So rice and beans is not remotely, it helps them.
Yeah, I remember you were telling a story about a grandmother who her stove was not working for whatever reason, and the family member or whatever was getting food from the blessing box so they could have food to eat, because they didn't have a means to cook a meal.
Exactly. And if I meet someone new, and very tactfully, and just not ever trying to pry, but I'll say, "Do you have a stove?" And if a lot of ladies will say yes, and I said, "Well, then I know you can cook," and they'll grin and say, "Absolutely." Then it's different. We can do a lot of vegetables. We can do meats. We can do spaghetti sauce, and we can build them boxes that they can feed. Because, most people, if they're my age, a lady my age or younger or older, they're going to know how to cook. But I have a lot of single guys that come through, or a lot of times just ladies that are younger ladies that come through. And some, you have to ask the question, do you have a refrigerator? And, I sometimes got answers, well, we have one, but we don't have power, but we're running it from an extension cord from a neighbor.
Oh,
That's a very common, so but keep things cold. I know we can give them things like that. So you have to learn the dynamics of who you're trying to help, and what they're facing. And then to be, and people don't want to believe it or see it, but I promise you there's a homeless community that they live wherever they can live, place to place, and they have no home. And then we have, totally a different way of helping them with food items. And we don't just do food. We have hygiene items. We keep a lot of stuff on hand like that. We keep a lot of things in the refrigerator and on hand if we have kids. If they come and there's kids, we'll build a box of food. Then I'll build a box and say, now listen, this is for these kids, and we'll do it like that. And we've just tried to customize this to the needs, but we want it to be more than just hand them a box of something that really doesn't help them. We want something they could leave that. We have people that literally will leave that box, walk out to the curb, sit down, and eat.
Wow. Yeah, I remember you were telling a story about a group of guys that I guess they were on their way to work. They would stop by every morning and get their breakfast there.
I have a couple. I saw one guy last night late. He came up. I've never seen him before. He actually had on a mask. I don't know if he was compromised or whatever. But last night, my wife and I were downtown. I said, "Come ride with me." So we went down and we got there about 7:20, and from 7:20 to 8:30, we hung around. And sometimes if you're there, no one will come up. But if you're drive around a little bit, then you'll catch them there, then you can have interaction. And then my first opening remark is, hey, leave that for someone else. We're going to help you. And, try to let them know that you don't need to take that.
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge victory for us when someone only comes and takes an item or 2 items or 3 items, because there is a tendency, and I don't mean just in Booneville, because I visited with other people in other towns about food pantries, that people to take everything because they're worried there won't be anything tomorrow. That's
Mm-hmm.
a sad thing that we face, but that's, it's like, I have to get this because it won't be here. We are trying to build that you do not have to do that. We will be here tomorrow. There will be items tomorrow. We will help you tomorrow. So, but last night, I counted that up because I wanted to tell you, we saw 9 people last night, an hour and a half.
Good grief.
9 people. There was a married couple, a young man that we help a lot, that we see a lot. Good young man, always trying to help us around there, doing whatever. A lady that she had heard about us through another person. She came and we helped her. And then while we were gone, somebody came and got one item. So I know I'm counting that person as a 1,
Mm-hmm.
but that's pretty much the pattern, And at nights, if I wasn't old and could stay up late, that's when you really have opportunity to help. Is from about dark till however long you want to stay. Sure.
People are ashamed, I'm sure, and they want to come under the cover of night. And
there is some embarrassment there. There is. I'm in awe of how I can be at the box and put a few items out, go back to the storeroom, do some organizing, think I'll put that out, and I'll walk out and something's gone, and I'll literally run to look, up and down the street to see, and I can't find anyone. It's amazing how people just come and go. But one day last week, I had got in from work. It was around 5, a little after 5, and I pulled up and I was in my work vehicle, and I was on the phone. And before I could get out and go in and put items, 3 people came through. Now, I know all 3 of them, and I knew they would come back. But 3 people came through to an empty box while I was still trying to work. Mm-hmm. 3 people, 15 minutes. I don't think we say this, I gave you a number that I believe that we're helping, but I may be way off. I may be way short on the sheer numbers. I know if you took the family and made that family as 1, the 80 doesn't hold. Mm-hmm. I'm counting maybe a grandmother as 1, and there may be 4 children. She's got 4 grandchildren she's trying to help take care of.
Sure.
But it's, I would just urge people, if they're listening, to pray for our community, pray for this ministry, but pray for all of our churches that, trying to help our neighbors. I'm very, very, thankful for the people in the community that have really stepped to the plate to make this happen. And it's life changing. I'll tell you, it has changed my life. So much more appreciative. I share with my kids a lot, about what I see here, and they are dumbfounded sometimes, where the town they grew up, that you don't know that there's people struggling. I said this one time, I think I may have said this at Rotary, but I know I said it in church, that, we all have our lives to live, and not at your age, but at my age, you're thinking about retirement down the road. You're thinking about still your career. You're thinking about your health. You're thinking about your children, your grandchildren, their livelihoods, and you want them to prosper and do well. But to think that right here in our home, mm-hmm. town, that there's people that the first thing when their eyes open and their feet hit the floor, if they've got somewhere they're laying that their feet can hit the floor, the first thing that they worry about that day is food. The most basic thing that we take for granted, that's their first goal of a day is, I've got to get food. And some of these guys I know that are working, that I see them at night, they're buying gas, they're paying an electric bill, they're paying a rent on maybe a home or apartment, and trying to make it. And the saddest part is, and the comment that I hear, or the statement made to me, and it breaks my heart. It just breaks my heart. They'll say, I wasn't always like this. Or they'll say, I've never had to do this before. And my thing is, I just say, we are not talking about that. We're not here to judge. We are not here to do anything but help you and lift you up. There's better days coming. I promise you. You're trying. You're doing well. But Brian, that's a tough one when you have a lady with 2 kids in the car and she's up there and she said, I've never had to come do this before. And, I know her husband's working because she told me where he worked.
Yeah.
Worked in Fort Smith, but those are sobering, and, I just do my best to try to move on, to not dwell on that with them.
Sure.
The one thing that we want to do as a church, and I think we want to do as a community, anybody that's in that situation, we never, ever want to make them feel inadequate by any means.
Myself, I would describe you as a hero. What you're doing is, in my definition, you're helping people. You're lifting up the downtrodden. You're answering the call. That makes me wonder, who inspired you? What's a mentor or a teacher or somebody that you would say was your inspiration?
Well, I mean, I would have had several through my life, but currently my inspiration through this project, that's an easy question. It's my church family.
Mm-hmm. They
are my heroes, because yesterday morning, it's Rotary Week. So, Amy and I will go, but I mean, we just had a overrun of need. We had plenty of items, but I'm very bad about not wanting that store to get low. I reached out to about 30 people. I had 3 text groups, and within 15 minutes, I'm at Walmart. Within 30 minutes, I've been to Walmart. One couple gave a huge amount of money, several $100s, that the church called and said, hey, you've got this in the account. We do well with that. But the point is, they answer the call if I say we need to help her, and I tell them, and it's very emotional to me, but I can never repay them.
Yeah.
For what they do. And just like I can never repay you guys at Rotary. And I know it's not a responsibility to repay you, but it's my nature to want to repay you.
Sure.
For what? Well, because that's the people that are carrying the load. I'm just the guy handing it out and hugging necks and kissing babies.
Sure.
I told somebody the other day, I wish I wasn't this popular.
It's amazing to me that we talk about the U.S. here and how we have safety nets. It's amazing how many people fall through those cracks of the safety nets. You have to have an address. You have to have the Constitution to be able to sit down and fill out all the paperwork where they may not have time. They may be working 2 or 3 jobs, or it may be a grandmother who can't see and
right.
Can't see
Sure.
to fill out the paperwork, or
Sure.
or whatever the reason. Here in my home, we are big on principles. If anything I've taught my kids, they know that it's God, family, country. And I think that's the biggest responsibility is that God has put on us. And I think that's what heroes do, is they pick up that mantle and they feed the children, the downtrodden, the widows, the orphans. And that's the best work we can do here. That's, in my opinion, that's what heroes are made of. That's where we can affect the most change, is when I'll take one person, Tony Robbins, how he is so big. I can't even name the amount of billion-dollar companies that he owns. His inspiration was Thanksgiving dinner. He didn't have food. His family he had a big family. They didn't have a meal for Thanksgiving dinner. So he set out and he said, I'm going to feed 30 families. Well, first it was one family for Thanksgiving. Then it was 30. Then it was 80. And that was, I don't know the number. It's millions that his organization feeds for. It's all because someone answered the call for them. We lift each other up. I really don't have words to express how important this is. If people think that somebody else has it, somebody else is giving money,
yeah.
And you think that I don't have enough money to give. Well, you do.
Yeah.
You do. If you're listening to this, you have a cell phone, you have a car, you have electricity that's turned on. You can give something, if it's $5, people are going without food and they don't need to. There's no reason that they should. And, we're greatly indebted to people like you that step up and do what needs to be done. And I just, I'm very emotional right now, but that's,
I understand.
But
it's a very emotional thing. And I tell my church family and others, I said, if you could ever, you get past the sadness and then you have another encounter that breaks your heart. But when you sit down with, at night, I'll be, sitting there talking to someone. And I had a couple came up last week and I actually had known her, 20 years ago. She'd been gone from here. She had ended up back in Booneville and we visited a long time. And she said, can I hug you? And I said, well, of course you can hug me, and she just held on and funny story, not about her, but of the lady that a young man I see quite a bit. He brought a girl one night, beautiful girl, and he said, he told me her name, and she said, I do need some food, but she said, do you have any like soap? And I said, I've got soap. I said, come in. So I brought her back there, and she was just thrilled to death. But I said, your friend told me you have a little boy. She said, yeah. And I said, I don't guess by any chance he's got a birthday coming up. And she looked at me and she just, big tears just ran down her face. She said, how'd you know that? It's almost like she thought I was a witch doctor or something, it was just like, but what kind of voodoo's going on here? And I said, I've ended up with a couple of birthday cakes from the Senior Citizen Center. And she said, his birthday is in 2 days. Wow. And she just latched on to me and just held on. And she said, I'm taking a birthday cake. I've came to a food box at 11 o'clock at night and I'm taking a birthday cake home. And I said, hey, it's what we're here for. I said, I couldn't sleep. My wife was out of town. I just thought I'm going to come down here and have a little busy work. And then here you come. So it's meant to be. I said, we're here to help you. I said, come to church. I saw her again about a couple months ago. And, she came through and I said, how about some food? She said, I could really use a water. And she said, you got any more of that conditioner and shampoo? And I said, I do. But those are the interactions. But you said something just minutes ago and what you said was spot on and you about made me cry. But, Brian, I am shocked how many people that we encounter that they were homeless in other cities, sometimes Kansas City, St. Louis, as close as Fort Smith. And they've ended up in Booneville. I had the police department, and one of my very best friends is a dispatcher down there at night, and he called me. He said, hey, there's a kid out here sleeping on a bench. And he says he knows you. He said he knows Will. Up there at one of the churches. They can't get in their head, it doesn't matter what church we are. It's irrelevant. But he said, he asked me, do you know how to get a hold of this? And he said, yeah, it's one of my best friends. We went to school together. He said, I'm going to try to go back to Fort Smith, but I really wish I had some food. But, the kid was scared. He was coming to sleep at the police department on the bench outside, but he knew he could get a little bit of food. Mm-hmm. So we were able to help him. And I hadn't seen him since, but apparently he had grandparents here, but he wasn't with them. But to your point, though, listen to these young people tell about how they navigated Springfield, Missouri for 5 years on the street. Mm-hmm. It's a different world. It's a world that, we can't really grasp, but, living, they talk about living in homeless camps or living in shelters, shelters in the cities for sure, mm-hmm. But somehow they navigate through Booneville, I've met a lot of people like that,
What does the future look like for this?
Brian, I think that, unfortunately, I hate to say this because I'm excited about what we had the capability of helping. I hope we're changing lives, and the last thing we do is, why are you like this? Why do you not have a job? Why do you not? That's the one thing that I will not be a part of. I will move the box to my yard, but or build my own. But I want to continue, to do what I think is what we all should be trying to do, is help the people who can't help themselves. And
Right.
there's some people who don't buy into that and they scarf at it. And I've had some very close friends that have said some things to me that hurt me to the core, and I'll have to get past it. I think that's in our nature. I think it just kind of, there's some people that have a heart for others, and there's some people that don't. And I think that makes the world go round.
Right.
But I hope that we don't continue to see this huge increase in need. I think we can accommodate that need through our church, others from other churches helping, Rotary, senior citizens. We always have enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fish and the loaves.
Right.
We always have enough. And so help me. And I'm not here to be talking about church, but when I'll think to myself, I need Vienna sausage, I need this, I need X. The next morning I come in and X is in the floor with a note. Hey, Will, I was at Walmart. I got this. It's amazing. It is absolutely, and I don't even remotely need to cry on this because I'm just smiling, but it's amazing what I need, we get. When I need beef, one of the cattle guys, their wives will bring beef, so it's just amazing how that God's just opening doors like that. But I hope that we can, continue to help others. I hope the community, and we see, I'll tell this real quick. We see success stories. I had a young man come through and I helped him a few times, and he said, "Will, I promise you I'm doing better." He said, "I'm clean, I'm sober." And a couple of weeks ago, I was down there early one morning, and I hear his voice screaming at me, and I said, "Brandon, what are you hollering?" He said, "I'm 77 days." And what that meant was 77 days clean. And
Wow.
It's easy to help him. It's really because he said, I'm working, I've got a job. Anyway, he was just, those. And then I told you at Rotary about the note. One morning, about 7 o'clock in the morning, I found a note. Oh, actually, I pulled up to the box and I knew what we had put in the box at night. And you don't pull up to the box at 7 in the morning and there's items in there. It just does not happen. It just does not happen. Where it was the ice storm, the snowstorm, a rainstorm, 107 degrees, it just does. People are going to come.
Yeah, people need to eat.
And I came and I pull up and there's items in there. And human nature is like, who brought stuff they don't want?
Mm-hmm.
That's me being a human and not a very good one. But I'm thinking, who brought that stuff? Would they find beets and canned turnips and something, stuff that maybe, I hope no one likes beets and turnips. I'm sure you do. But I do not either. But I go to the box and there's a box of Hamburger Helper, a box of green bean, a can of Del Monte green beans. There was several other very good items, great items, but at random, a very odd thing. And underneath one of the cans was a note. And I have this note in a frame in my office with my pictures of my kids. And the note says, "Hello, this is," and I won't say his name because it's irrelevant, but hello, this is, let's just say John. I have used this box before, and I'm doing better now and wanted to give back. Have a good day.
Wow.
I thought, holy smokes. And I'm just looking around like, why can't I have 100 people here to share this with? But anyway, that's a good, and I find notes periodically. There's a couple young guys that leave me a note. Hey, can you leave me some food in the secret place? So we got these secret spots that I hide a little food for them, but we're some humor with it as well, but it's serious business. I don't mean to ever to make light of it, but when we got off in the weeds on that, but I don't really see it changing a lot as far as the need is still going to be there. I'm just thankful we can fulfill the need.
As am I. So what do you do in your free time when you're not volunteering or working?
Well, if I'm not doing that, we have a farm out north of town that it's not a farm. We have hunting ground, and we're bow hunters. And I don't just mean my son and I mean the daughters, the son-in-laws, my wife. We spend very fortunate. I have a wonderful partner, Dr. Shirey. Dad Shirey, he and I have some land together. Then we own some land that joins that land, And it is my heaven on earth.
Wow.
I love to put my feet on put my boots on every bit of it I can when I can. We have some other land that joins it. We're able to utilize as well. So spend a lot of my time there. If we're not there. If it's in November, I'm usually trying to be about 9 or 10 hours north in Iowa or northern Missouri, and when we can be fortunate to do that. But that's our hobby. I don't golf. I'm one of the few insurance men that don't. My baby daughter was a golfer.
Mm-hmm.
But my new son-in-law, he's attempting it, but Kaylee's husband, he does golf. So, spend as much time as I possibly can with our family. With a new grandbaby there, we go there as much as we can, try to see our grandsons as much as we can, but spend a lot of time with them. But my best days are spent with them there, to be honest. That's I treasure those days.
Oh, yeah. What kind of bow do you use?
We're a Matthews family, other than the new son-in-law. He and his father, they're farmers. They have a large cattle operation, but they have an archery shop in Mount George, a large archery shop.
Oh, wow.
Unbelievable business, Mount George Archery. So he's got one of everything. He shoots it, but they're Hoyt people. But,
yeah.
They're, we have a lot of fun about that. But, now that Darby's married into an archery shop, she'll have whatever she wants. She'll have one of each brand too. She'll probably have a Matthews and a Hoyt too. But
but yeah, I can relate. You can't go golfing and come home with meat in the freezer,
Well, that's true. But we followed Darby a many year on playing golf. She was part of that 2015 state championship golf team here.
Oh yeah.
And so to not golf, Sue and I have watched a lot of golf. But we financed a lot of golf. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. I feel you there. What are some ways people can get involved and help?
Well, probably the one thing that people could do if you're of faith listening to Brian's podcast, you can pray. You can pray for our community. You can pray for this ministry. Your church may have a ministry. And there are the other churches that they're doing, they've settled in on one night a week that they're having meals. That helps people so much. Mm-hmm. I know that First Baptist has a way that they have a way people can come in and shower, and I think Mr. Gray and his wife, I think, maybe operate that. I don't know a lot of it. I know a lot of people we help, they go there and they're able to take care of some of their personal needs there. But, Brian, if you want me to share my number, I don't have a problem with that. I can share an email if you don't have a problem with that.
Sure, just whatever you like.
If you have but anybody could reach out to me if they want to be a part of it. You don't have to be a part of our church to help our neighbors. My email is Beason, BEASON .will@gmail.com. That's my personal email. And but if you reach out to me if you want to know a little bit more, wanted to see how we do. I've had some of our church family that other denominations have came to our church and saw kind of what we do. What is it you've got stored in this food room back here? How do you do this? What we just have a system that works. Now, is it perfect? Absolutely not. But is it helping people? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But you just have to kind of get know the lay of the land. How you have to, there's times you can put out a lot of food and there's times you don't need to put out a lot of food. There are months of the year you need to put out a lot of food, and it's always the end of the month is a very stressful time on people until there's some money coming in the first of the month, and then things will relax a little. But the end of the month is a very stressful time. I can sense that, and I'm told that constantly. And they let you know up front, here's why we're here, or But number one, pray for our community in itself, and pray for this ministry. But if you wanted to reach out, and we have people that do as little as they just write a check to the church every month. We don't want anybody bringing me money or anything like that. I mean, I have a couple of people that'll hand me a 20 and say, you know what to do with it, but that's not a good thing. But, if you give it to the church, we're going to show it as an offering and, give it back on your taxes. You can, but I have people that do nothing but X amount of money a month. I have other people that they know what we use, and they'll call and say, come by. And I'll come by and I'll get applesauce and peaches. They are completely, in my household, we have a laugh about, we know what those people are going to do. And I'll call them I'll call her by name, or them a couple, the Vienna couple. But everybody has found their way. Yeah. Everybody does their part with this. And I think that's what makes it work. It would never work if my church family wasn't bought in 100%.
Right.
They are committed. They keep me motivated. They keep me honest. They keep me, if I'm down there at 11 o'clock at night, it's because I want to help people, but also I have a debt of gratitude to them, and truthfully to y'all at Rotary and people, everybody that's done a part of this. I somehow want them to know that what they did was worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have a Venmo or a PayPal or something?
No.
No.
The only way to do it would be to drop it by the church office.
Okay.
And I've had some colleagues that work in other states. I've had some ex-colleagues that, we caught up, and I told one of them a story about one day, and I could hear him. I mean, he's the president of an insurance company in Dallas, and he sat there and he was crying like a baby. He said, "Why did you do this to me?" But he wrote a check to our church, and I know he's Southern Baptist. I mean, but he just said, he said, "I've known you probably longer than most people." And he said, "I've never seen," he said, "this has changed you." I said, it's addictive. I mean, I can't drive through town that I don't want to go by the box and see if there's somebody there or if it's empty. I may not put a lot out, but, I want to, it's just, you see a need and it's like driving. And I think that a lot of this, I don't know about you, Brian, but I think a lot of this started with COVID. I just saw, you'd see restaurant workers that you knew were struggling, having to bring food out to your car, not getting their tips, and just people. And you just saw, drive through McDonald's, and you just felt like, you need to be kinder to people. Yeah. We are going through something as a country. We need to tune this crap down of this picking sides and pointing fingers and calling people this and that, and just take a deep breath and be nice to people and quit being being a, Brian can bleep me here in a minute, but, quit being a what about thing, because, everybody's got their own struggles. Everybody's got their own cross, their own burdens, and their own cross to bear.
Right.
But just every day is a lot better if you'll just be nice to people. It is just unbelievable how much better the day is if you'll just be kind to people.
100%. I watched a video yesterday that talked about this. A guy was, he said he was in traffic, probably some big metro area, LA or somewhere, and he said he doesn't know what he did, but somehow he offended this lady, and she gave him the number one sign.
Sure.
And he said typically you get in that match to where you give her number one, she gives you number, you're both, just throwing each other the bird back and forth. And the rest of your day, that's how it started. He said, but something clicked in me this day, and I didn't know what I did, but I just put my hands together and like a prayer, and it said, with my mouth, I said, "I'm sorry." And she looked over and she patted her hand and said, "It's okay."
Yeah.
So just a little kindness.
Mm-hmm. Just a little bit.
And that's, you can change someone's day, and that one day could change their life.
Yeah. It's just when Amy and I go through, we've got a lady there's 3 ladies that usually help us because we're there super early, and we don't, we go through the lines, and we have a system, 12 of these, 24 of these, 10 of these. And they just said, "You two are you're contagious. And because of this food ministry." And I said, "Well, this baby right here has been this way, her whole life. She's always got a smile. She can lift you up when the world is upside down." I said, "She's a lot like her aunt, my wife." But I said, "This is contagious. I can't wait to get out there and spend other people's money buying canned goods and cookies and whatever." But and then I'll let them all know, we bought this much today with your money and things. But it's contagious. And not trying to help, and we're not trying to work our way into the Lord's place, but it's contagious knowing that it's kindness, because I see people that would come and wouldn't say 2 words to me at the box. They call me by my first name. I call them by my name. Some of them come to church with us now, which I'm so thankful that they do. And they'll bring another person. And that other person will kind of get, away from them talking to me, and they'll say, "We were told we could come here, and you don't question us, and you're good to us." And I'm thinking, every place should be like that. It shouldn't be me.
Right.
It shouldn't be this church. There's no blame here, but you can tell people have not been treated that way, and they're hungry. I promise you, Brian, they're as hungry for kindness as they're hungry for food. And I know people say that's BS. That's not. I promise you, there is times that people come that they want just a little bit of normalcy, a little conversation, a bottle of water, and talk about the weather, whatever. But somebody not many weeks ago, they asked me something about my kids, and when they were with these people at the wedding, they said, we know you're just so proud of your kids. And I told them, I said, my wife and I talk about this a lot. My kids are educated. They've done well. They have great jobs. They're doing well. But at the end of every day, the one thing I am most proud is watching how my kids treat people they don't even know.
Yeah.
Waiters, waitresses, strangers. Because that tells me these people they treat well can't do one thing for them financially. They can't. They're not doing this out of some false sense of, I'll do this because he'll do. No, that's not. And that's probably the one thing about them I'm the most proud of as their daddy.
Mm-hmm. Well, Will, just one more time, if you could give your info and how people can get in touch with you and help out with the project.
Sure. And like I said, and if anyone's got any questions, any more detail about their church would want to start one of their own, we'd be more than happy to help you in any way, because it would help the community for sure. And like I said, just pray for our community and pray for our city. We've got so many wonderful people live here that want the best for all of us. But my email is beason.will@gmail.com, and my cell phone is 675-6045.
Will Beason, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Brian. I appreciate it so much. Have a good rest of your week.
You too.